So let me go ahead and get class started today. Today what I want to do is I want to lecture on question 18 and question 19. If I get those two things done, and that will take me the entire class meeting, I'll be so happy. If I have any additional time, we'll go over question 20. If you were not here last time, I have all of these handouts up here. Come and take whatever you need. Question 20 I gave out last time, and I also gave out a copy of a newspaper article that goes with it. Make sure you read it. I asked everyone to read it prior to today. Come up here, Jasmine. Don't feel bad. Anyone who needs it. Also, at any point during the lecture, if you mess up on any calculations and you need more sheets, come up here and take them. If you want to take some extra sheets to study and practice, take some more. I got lots of this stuff. There's absolutely no reason you should waste your ink. Notice I said waste. Waste your ink on printing these up. But you know what? They are all on my website if you need them. Take whatever you need. Take as much of whatever you need. So maybe after today, once I put today's screencast up on YouTube, I will email you guys a link. How else am I going to get it to you? Are you guys getting my emails? Do you guys get my emails? So maybe I will email it to you, and then I'll put a link on the course materials page for Econ 302. Go look for it in there, under the Keynesian Cross Model documents. I'll put a link there. Okay? That's what I'll do. I'll email it to you, and I'll put a link. And if I don't get it done today, I will definitely get it done by tomorrow. Just depends how my afternoon goes this afternoon. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to work. What do we want to do today? I want to talk to you about the simple multiplier. Last time I told you I had a really good story. It involves pornography. So anyways, now I got your attention. I once got sued for illegally downloading a porn file. I'll tell you more about that. Okay? It's called the simple multiplier. I use it as an example. True story. It cost me lots of money to get myself out of that pickle. So don't go illegally download anything. You think it'll never happen to me. Guess what? It happened to me, and it wasn't even me. Number 2, I want to go over the 7 multipliers, which are the multipliers that you will need on question 19. In order to answer question 19 is worth 25% of your exam, so it's going to take me pretty much the entire class meeting to go over that. And then if I have time, I'll go over question 20. Under the looking ahead section, last time I told you I gave you 2 additional days to complete the Applia homework for chapter 11, so you now have until Tuesday the 29th. That's Tuesday of next week. 1 week from today, I will see you, and you will take exam 5. You do not need to bring any type of paperwork. I will bring all the paperwork. I already have it all printed up, ready to go. And so, what do you need to bring for the exam? You need to bring all the knowledge in your head. No notes. It's a closed note. It's an open head, closed note, closed book exam. Open head. You need to bring a non-graphing, non-programmable type of calculator, a simple 10-key calculator, or a scientific calculator. You do not want to make a silly mathematical mistake on this thing. So get that. Also, straight edge ruler if you want to use one, and colored markers or pencils if you want to use them. That's what you need to bring for the exam. Prior to spring break, we also agreed that Wednesday, April 30th would be the last day that I would give you to submit a Kiva loan for extra credit. I promised you 5 points extra credit on the exam if you did go out and fund a loan. I have started to receive them. You can either give me a screen print or actually print it out, or just email me a screenshot that you have made the loan. Make sure it shows your name. Don't lend in your grandmother's name. That happened to me once. A student made a loan on behalf of his grandma. And then how am I supposed to know that was his grandma? So don't do that. I'll give you until the 30th. After the 30th, I cannot accept them because I'm closing out my grade book. You okay? Okay. I just realized, I have to do end of the semester stuff. So after the 30th, I can't accept it. Next homework that's due after the 29th will be on Sunday, May 11th. That's Mother's Day, so you guys have ample warning. Do your homework before you take your mother out. Sunday, May 11th, if you have your mother close by. We're going to have chapter 10, and then on Wednesday, May 14th, that will be our last class meeting. Before finals begin, we'll take exam 6. Exam 6 will cover chapter 10. I will see all of you one more time during finals. For this class, it'll be on Monday, May 19th at 10:15 in the morning. Some of you will be taking the final, and some of you will be submitting a course evaluation form. I will still see you at that time. And then here's the link that we just went over. That link is going to be the link for the Keynesian Cross Model documents. This is the lecture that covers all of the questions, number 1 through, I think I did 16 on this link. And I'll put this link up. I'll put it up on my website. So if you probably later on today, if not by tomorrow, go to the Keynesian Cross Model documents, and I'll put 2 links up there. I'll put this link for the one I just showed you for questions 1 through 16, and then I will put a second link for the screencast that I'm capturing today, which will be question 19. That's where I'm at. How are you guys doing? Ready to begin? Excellent. So I still have your buy-in. I'm going to get 100% on this. Excellent. Let's get to work. There's lots of work to be done. But you know what? Get 100% on it. Next thing you know, but I don't think so. Maybe question 17. Did you get your graph to look like this? Is that where we're at? Okay, look at that. So anyways, if you weren't here last time, I'm working off of the yellow sheet. And actually all the instructions are the same. It's just the yellow sheet has some numbers. On the yellow sheet on the back, I want to draw your attention to question 17. Question 17, what I did last time was I broke up lectures so that we would have different opportunities to fill in the table, or excuse me, the graph. Question 17 is where you have your formal instructions on what lines to draw. So question 17 is worth 10% of the exam, 2% for every single line. What am I looking for when I will be grading this? I'm looking for lines that are accurately drawn. What does that mean? I'm looking for lines that begin at when income is 0, because all this data begins when income is 0. Because sometimes I get students whose lines like start over here instead of over here. So that when income is 0, that end at the proper point when income is 1600, because sometimes these lines extend, sometimes these lines don't quite make it. And I'm also looking for lines that have accurate slopes. I am not going to be looking for 16 dots on every single line. Because what you have already started to sense is that time is more precious than gold on the date of the exam. And didn't we learn in math class somewhere that you can draw a line between 2 points? Go for it. But I'm just going to say I would probably advise that you draw a line between 3 points, not 2. Because if you draw a line between 2 points, you can do it. But what happens if you're looking at the table and you inadvertently pick up the wrong number? So drawing a line amongst 3 points, I think, would be a safeguard against that happening. So what I've seen some of my students do in the past, they always graph the point where income is 0, they graph the equilibrium point, and then they graph the final point. Yes?
So you don't mind if we don't plot all the points?
I don't want you to plot all 16 dots. That's going to be so time consuming. And some of you, when you take the exam, you might be strapped for time. Maybe like 15 minutes. We might be an hour into the exam. You got 15 minutes left, and I'm going to make the announcement, hey, you got 15 minutes left. And what are you going to do, Eric, if you haven't started question 19? That's worth 25%. So then for some of you, and I've seen this happen, some students say, you know what, I'm just going to let the graph go. If I haven't done the graph, and I haven't done question 19, and I haven't done question 20, I'm letting the graph go because question 19 is worth 25%, and question 20 is worth 15%. So, do what you need to do. Don't let that happen to you. Because you want 100, you need to complete everything. As you practice over the weekend, make sure that you practice under the time constraint. Watch yourself, time yourself. That's going to be the key to being able to master the material. Anyone can complete this exam in 3 or 4 hours, but that doesn't mean that you have mastered the material. Okay, so make sure that's going to be key. It can be done. I don't know which will hurt more, your hand or your head. And typically my students hate me by the time that they're done. But you know what? If you got 100 on this exam, you can transfer that 100 to the final, and I think it's well worth it. Excellent. Okay, so this is our graph, and it is absolutely important that your graph is correct, that your numbers are correct on the table in order for you to even have a fighting chance of correctly calculating the stuff on question 19. You will see what I mean. You got 100 on the final, yes.
What's the loan thing?
What's the what?
The loan?
The loan, if you make a Kiva loan, go to kiva.org, make a loan to someone, $25 minimum, I'll give you 5% extra credit. Okay? You and I can talk more about it if you want to, Abdullah. You probably missed the lecture one day.
I did probably, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So time to continue. So I guess we're on question, no, did we finish the graph? Question 17. How far did we get on the graph? I wanted to say that we were on question, okay, so then let's move on to question 18. Question 18 asks, what's the simple multiplier in this problem? So I'm going to give you some notes, tell you a little bit about a simple multiplier, and then I want to discuss it. A simple multiplier measures how many times in an economy $1 spent, quote unquote, turns over. By turning over, I mean additional economic activity generated. Because anytime that we spend some money, there's always some additional economic activity that occurs after our expenditure. The simple multiplier in our simulation is going to be denoted with little k. And I don't know what's up with that box, so we'll erase it. Little k is equal to 1 over 1 minus the MPC. Each and every time, all the time. Yes?
Can you give an example of additional economic activity?
Yeah. As soon as, yeah, I have lots of examples. I'm going to give you a porn example this morning.
Fantastic.
Every time I think of it, Ken, I'm so disgusted. You'll see why. And you guys are going to help me develop some examples. Ken, where do you work at now? Did you tell us? It's no longer the grad. Did you? Or you can't disclose it?
It's a long story.
Okay, so let's just assume you work at the grad. When you work at the grad, let's go say that I go have a beer after class. Do they have healthy food in their kitchen, or is it all fried? Okay, I'm just going to go have a beer. When I was in college, I didn't care. I'll just go have a beer after class. Okay, let's just say by the time I'm out of there, maybe I spent $10 at the grad. Maybe I have 2 or 3 beers. I don't know how much beer is sold for.
Half price, half the hour.
So how much is that?
It's half off everything. That's alcohol.
Well, how much is that? I have no idea.
So
I went to school at Chico State. Alcohol there is dirt cheap.
Like a bottle of beer is like
$5?
4.
Okay, yeah, so it's too expensive.
$10.
Chico, you could get a hard liquor drink for like a quarter. Yeah, that's why I don't drink here anymore. No cover charge. Okay. Let's just go say I go spend $10 at the grad. The person at the cash register is going to take my $10. And then the owner or manager of the grad, they're going to take my $10 and what are they going to do with it? They're going to pay for the actual cost of the goods that I consume. So the actual cost of the beer to the distributor. They're going to take part of my $10 and I don't know, pay for insurance. Part of my $10 will go pay for the electricity. Part of my $10 will be earned by you as a security guard. And then what are you going to do with your paycheck when you earn it, Ken? Go out and spend it in your local community. Right? You're going to go buy groceries, pay tuition. What else are you going to do? Pay for utilities. So part of my $10 has this residual effect in the community. That's what I mean by additional economic activity. When you guys go pay your tuition at Sacramento City College, and I'm going to put a plug in for them, go ahead and give them as much money as possible. Because part of your tuition then filters on through to me in the form of a paycheck. And then I go through and spend my money in my community. What do I spend my money on every month? Well, let's see. I got that whole daycare expense, which is kind of expensive. Daycare, gasoline, food. I got to repay my student loans, which I'm very lucky. My student loans are only 2.25%. I have no incentive to pay them off. I got to pay my student loans. What else do I pay every month? My insurance for my car. Yeah, I got off really nice with those student loans. My insurance on my car. I think that's about it. Oh, my cable and internet. Yeah. And so, Ken, if you don't pay your fees at Sacramento City College, I can't pay my bills. That's the multiplier effect. When people go out and spend, there's always an additional economic activity that's generated. So we got to measure it. So this is another equation. Little k is another equation you're going to have to memorize and know how to calculate. Little k is equal to 1 over 1 minus the MPC. I will not give you this one on the exam. So we've been working on the yellow sheet. I see a variable here, this MPC. What's the MPC from the yellow sheet? 3 over 5. So let's convert that to a decimal because I don't want a fraction in a fraction. 3 over 5, 0.6, right? So on the yellow sheet, MPC was 3/5. 3/5 is really 0.6. Here's my equation. All I have done is taken this 0.6 and stuck it in the denominator portion. Someone calculate that for me. What's the answer? What's the answer? 2.5. So what I really calculated is 1 divided by 0.4. My answer is 2.5. What does this 2.5 mean? For every dollar spent in the economy, comma, total economic activity equals 2.5 times the dollars spent. And I'll give you some examples. So I want you to help me come up with something. Give me examples of money that you've spent recently. What we're going to do is we're going to take your dollar spent. We will multiply it by little k in order to get dollar spent times little k equals total economic activity. Total economic activity can also say I can also state that as total economic impact. And again, please bear with me with my handwriting. Yeah, little k. Thank you. And you guys can see the right hand side of the screen, correct? Because last time we weren't able to see it.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. What have you spent money on lately? How much did you spend? Anyone spend, like, make a major purchase lately? Anyone? Give me some examples. Yes, Austin?
I paid $260 for 3 days Disneyland ticket.
3 days at Disneyland for $260?
That's cheap.
I know. It's cheap, but at the same time it's expensive. Look at how much Mickey Mouse wants. I gotta take my little one soon. $260 for a 3-day ticket to Disneyland. Okay, we'll put that on there. Thank you. Layla, did I see your hand?
Yeah.
What?
I bought a plane ticket.
Plane ticket, how much?
$1,100.
$1,100. Where are you going?
Japan.
Wow. Anyone else make a major purchase? Yes, Angel?
Also bought a plane ticket.
A plane ticket, where'd you go?
I'm going to El Salvador.
El Salvador. How much did you spend?
$740.
Wow. $740 for a plane ticket too. So the other day I made a major to me. I spent, how much did I spend? $2,700 for a Cancun vacation. My family and I were going to Playa del Carmen. If any of you know where that's at, 40 minutes south of Cancun. We're going to go stay at an all-inclusive resort for a week.
Not per person. Well,
Total of 3 of us.
that's cheap.
I know, I'm listening to your plan, and so now I'm thinking it's not that big of a deal because my little one pays regular airfare. If you have kids over 2, they're taking up a seat. There's no such thing as kids' airfare. Any of you taking Econ 304, that's because the marginal cost of carrying that kid is the same as an adult. They're taking up a seat. So anyways, in this economy, let me show you how little k works. In this economy, we just measured little k at 2.5. So what I'm saying is that every single dollar that is spent generates 2.5 times its value as a total economic impact. So we're going to take these numbers and we're going to multiply them by 2.5. Okay, someone get a calculator out. What's 260 times 2.5? That includes meals too, Layla, my vacation. That's why we decided to go. It includes meals, transfers, and airfare. How much, Daniela? $650 for the first one? 1,100 times 2.5, isn't that, no. How much? $2,750. 740 times 2.5? $1,850. And what's 2,700 times 2.5? So check it out. What we just calculated was total economic impact on the economy. So Austin, you going and seeing Mickey Mouse? Yeah, I am incorrectly stating the following. It is incorrect to say that last week when you bought these tickets, you contributed $260 into the economy. What you really did was you contributed $650 worth of activity. Why? Because you spent some of the money. Where'd you buy the tickets through?
On base.
Okay. So someone on base is earning a paycheck selling you the tickets, right? And then they're going to go out and spend money. Someone on base is then going to pay Disneyland for the actual value of the tickets that Disneyland charges them. And so then Mickey's going to make some money when you go. And whoever Mickey is then going to earn a paycheck. All those workers are going to earn a paycheck and spend it in their local communities. Layla, your $1,100 plane ticket, where'd you buy it?
Online,
Online, where?
the airline website.
Okay, so then the airline, part of your expenditure, $1,100 expenditure turns into $2,750 economic impact. Because their workers are going to turn around and spend some of your money in the form of income. Same thing, Angel, $740 really becomes $1,850, and my $2,700 Cancun vacation becomes $6,750 in the local community. Now, to be precise, this $2,700 does include airfare, but it also includes, as I said, a 1-week stay at an all-inclusive resort. So all the workers that work there are going to earn part of my expenditure and wages, and then go out and spend it. Any questions on that one? Go ahead, Abdullah.
So we know the value of K because we know the value of NPC.
Yes.
How would you calculate the value of NPC?
The value of NPC is calculated at an entire economic level. Typically, what I gave you is a very general NPC value, and it's given to you for an entire economy. Now, if you want to get technical, my thesis, when I did my master's, was based on calculating NPCs in local and regional economies. If you want to get technical, this number changes in local and regional economies. I'll just give you an example. So like this year, we don't have that much water. We have a drought. What do you think NPC is going to be like in some of these really small farming communities in San Joaquin Valley? I don't know. Let me guess. Which one am I thinking? Coalinga, where all those cows are. Where lots of people in the community depend upon farming for a livelihood. NPC is going to drop because when there's no farming, there's not going to be jobs. And when there's no paychecks, there's not going to be additional expenditures in the community.
Like, what kind of variables do you use to calculate it?
Consumption and income. You can use a consumption function. Yes?
Doesn't
Emily?
it matter that you're spending the money like in Cancun?
Yeah, so yes, Emily, I oversaw that. Part of my expenditure will contribute to the local Cancun economy.
Okay, so like the fact that our dollar might be like worth more to them, does that like make any difference?
No, because it's still the value. It's what it's valued at. I had to pay in dollars. That's what it's valued. And part of my expenditure will be kept here in the U.S. by United Airlines, who's taking us. So let me show you a picture here. This was taken April 2011. This was spring break. 3 years ago, there's my husband and I at the Niagara Falls. We decided to head north instead of heading south for spring break. And I remember for spring break, we had to get our snow gear out. Oh, we were the only crazy ones there. It was really nice to go there at that time. The falls they were still raining, but there was lots of snow. There was snow on the sidewalk. There was snow everywhere. It was so cold, it wasn't even funny. Why'd we go? Because on Cyber Monday, the Monday after Thanksgiving, there's massive airline sales. So we were able to get a one-way flight, San Francisco to New York, for like $130 each way. That's why we went. My husband wanted to go to Niagara Falls. We had a wonderful time. And so then we come home. And my mother-in-law was house sitting our house. We come home. And so like we come back to reality after vacation. I had received this letter from Comcast. And she said she had to sign for it. So I paid a little more attention to the letter. I start reading through the letter, and it says, "Dear so-and-so, this letter is to advise you that you have been named in a class action lawsuit in a civil court in Washington, D.C. Your IP address has been captured as illegally downloading this file. See the attachment. We, Comcast, do not provide legal advice. We are writing to you to let you know that in 30 days we have received a subpoena. We are turning over your name and address and contact information." And then the plaintiff will do as they wish. We're advising you that you should seek legal opinion. Okay, so I'm getting sued. And then I look at the attachment, and it had a date and a time. It had my IP address, and it had this porn file name. I don't remember, XXX something. I don't remember what it was. So it was downloaded. I'm like, whoa. Well, I know it wasn't me. I know it wasn't my little one because he wasn't around. And my husband had an airtight alibi, because some of you are thinking it was him. My husband had major back surgery 2 days before, and he was out. There's no way. He wasn't even home. He was still at the hospital. So what am I going to do? I called some attorneys in town. You know how much attorneys charge? $400 or $500 an hour. They had no idea what was going on. They're like, well, if you pay us $2,000, we'll figure it out. Just to figure it out. And I'm like, how am I going to pay $2,000 just to figure it out? So next thing you know, I found an e-attorney. Did you know e-attorneys exist? An e-attorney, e-commerce attorney in San Francisco? And I called him up and he says, oh yeah, this happens all the time. You are one, he said the latest thing, you are one of 5,000 consumers that got identified. I said, so how did this happen? He's like, well, you know those file sharing websites like Kazaa and FrostWire and LimeWire and I don't know what other ones are out there? He says what record companies are doing, they're uploading their own material to see who downloads it and then gets you. And then they're going to sue you to make an example out of you. I said, okay. So what do I have to do to get out of here to get this done? He's like, well, you can either have them turn over your information, because right now you're just like John Doe number 362. You can have Comcast turn over your information and then see what they're going to do. Once they know who you are, they may sue you. They may not. And how long do they have to decide? 3 years. And what if I want to settle? He's like, well, if you want to settle, I'll charge you $500 flat fee. Because I got all the paperwork. I do this all the time. $500 flat fee. And whatever the record company will take to settle. And how much do they take to settle? He said they're usually taking the most they can get out of you before you say, screw you, I'm going to fight you in court. And how much does that cost? $2,000 or $3,000. So then I didn't know what to do, Dan. Because I was being sued in civil court in Washington, D.C., so even for me to show up was going to be a plane ticket and time away from work and all this crap that I had to deal with. I didn't know what to do. So I thought about it. I talked to some people in the e-commerce industry. One of them was my brother, and he's like, this sucks. But your quickest, most cost-efficient way of getting out of it is to pay them off. Oh my gosh, it sucked. I had to write a check for $2,500. $2,500. What happened? Someone got hacked into my Wi-Fi network. And then my students are telling me that you guys know people who drive down streets to see where there's open. And mine wasn't an open network. But I had a really easy password on it. Now my password's like 60 characters. Uppercase, lowercase, ampersands, exclamation points, anything else I could think of to put in there. It is such a pain to add a device to my Wi-Fi network at home. So here's the part I have a hard time with. Each and every time I remember this. And then also I had to sign some forms saying that I was sworn to secrecy because they want to catch more people. And they really look at university student use on university networks. So you're saying it's never going to happen to you? Don't buy into that. You don't want this kind of problem. Look at this. I could have gone to Cancun instead of paying these people off. I spent $2,500. 2,500 times 2.5 is little k. What's my total economic impact? Someone do that, Daniela? What did I come up with? It sucks. 6 what? And you know the part that I really can't stand? Part of this 6,250 probably went to Pamela Anderson so she could like have her big mansion. Isn't it true though? Isn't that the point behind little k? That people earn part of this money in the form of wages? Oh my gosh. Don't let it happen to you. Now, here's how I look at access fees. Now, when I go on iTunes Music or like rental fees for movies, I look at those fees. I'm very happy paying them. I look at them as insurance premiums to know that this is never going to happen to me again. I'd rather go to Cancun than pay this off. That's a simple multiplier for you, Jose.
That happened to a friend of mine. Exact same thing, except he took a different approach.
What did he do?
He just ignored it.
And what happened?
He went away.
So check this out. No, check this out. Here's what I'm afraid of. Here's what I'm afraid of. He said that if the record companies had found out who you are, here's what they do. They then pick and choose who they're going to sue in court. And guess what? Next thing you know, since it's a taboo topic, porn is, Next thing you know, guess what? Local media picks up that your Sacramento City College professor got sued for illegally downloading porn. Right? And then what kind of an effect would that have on my career? I probably wouldn't have got hired at Sac City because this happened before I came to Sac City. Someone goes and finds out that that professor that's applying for a job got caught up in a lawsuit, illegally downloading porn. Who wants to hire me now? And what happens if you're a prominent attorney, lawyer, or not attorney, doctor, someone with a prominent position in the community? What the attorney said is that they're looking for those types of people because those are the types of people that are going to shell out lots of cash in order to get them to shut up.
I know a guy that did that, and he just ignored it, and he ended up getting sued, but he just pays like $1 or something a month, and as long as he pays something, like they can't do anything else about it. He's been doing it for like a year and a half.
I just wanted it done. I wanted it done because then I could sleep at night. But that was my personal decision. Because if when did this happened, 2011, I'd still be on their radar. Up through last month was 3 years. Absolutely crazy. So anyways, you're not supposed to know that from me because I wasn't supposed to share it with anyone, but I do so in the name of education. So there you go.
That's recorded and on the internet.
I know. Oh yeah, and I'm gonna upload it. Maybe I won't. Well, that's why we have a password on my website, right? Okay. Good. Good point. This is why I love coming to school. Question 19. I got, 50 minutes. That's probably as long as it'll take me to go over this. Suppose the level of y equals 1400 represents full employment, and it is desirable to move the economy from that level in question 16 to the $1,400 level. Use the 7 formulas numbers in the diagram in question 17 to illustrate the Keynesian solution to the unemployment problem. This is where 7 additional formulas come in. On the yellow sheet, did we answer question 16 last time I saw you? Yes, it was 1,000, correct? So here's where your numbers from the table being accurate come into play. Notice it says here, from that level in question 16, if you get a wrong answer for question 16, your math will be completely wrong for question 19. That's why you can't afford to make a mistake. I want to divide this question to several parts so that we understand what it is asking. First, suppose the level of y equals 1400 represents full employment. Hold on. Full employment to me kind of sounds like what we learned in chapter 1 with the production possibilities curve, where we had quantity of good x per unit of time here, quantity of good y per unit of time there. Full employment meant, back in chapter 1, meant that our economy was on the production possibilities curve, right? That's what we're trying to measure. But we're going to do so a little differently today on the graph. Suppose that the level of y equals 1400 represents full employment. So we are working with this scenario. And it is desirable to move the economy from that level in question 16. What was our answer to question 16? 1,000. So our equilibrium level is 1,000. That's not fully employed. Full employment is 1,400. So we got to do something to stimulate our economy. Next it says, use the 7 formulas numbers in the diagram in 17 to illustrate the Keynesian solution to the unemployment problem. So, use the 7 formulas. This means you are going to accurately state the formula on the exam. Numbers means accurately calculate each formula on the exam. And the diagram, so, to question 17. Let's do the diagram. Let's work on the graph first, because that's the easiest one to get out of the way. This is our diagram, right? This is what you guys told me it looks like. The line that corresponds to question 16 is my hot pink line. That's where we left off last time. And the hot pink line represents an equilibrium, you guys are telling me, of income equals 1,000, expenditures equals 1,000. So that's where we're at. On the line, how am I going to demonstrate the fact that we need our economy to grow by? How much does our economy need to grow by? 400. We needed to get to 1,400. We got it at 1,000. We got a gap of 400. So we need to see growth here of 400. How am I going to demonstrate? On the exam, here's what I need you to do. I need you to show me where your economy currently is at. So we'll say right there, I'll put a star. I need you to show me where the economy needs to go to. And that is always going to be on the 45-degree line, where the 45-degree line equals $1,400. So let's put a gold star right there. And then I need you to give me arrows between both stars showing path of movement. If you can do that on the graph, on the exam, I'll give you 4 points. Remember, question 19 is worth 25 points. I'll give you 4 points. So again, what are you showing me? You are going to be showing me where your economy currently is, where you need the economy to go to, right there, and arrows showing path of movement, so that I know that you're moving up and towards the right and not down and towards the left. I know that you need to grow your economy, not shrink it. Now, that is as far as you need to go on the exam in order to receive full credit. But I know some of you guys are mathematically inclined. So I'm going to do one more thing just to show you what's going on, but you don't need to demonstrate this on the exam. In order to have an equilibrium point that moves up and crosses the 45-degree line at this point, what I'm really saying is we need to have the pink line shift up at all places so that it looks something like this. And I'm just going to do this free-handed. So that it looks something like this, where that's called a full employment line. And that's a horrible color I just picked. Let me see if I can get another one. Let's try that one. Full employment line. You do not need to draw in the full employment line, but I just wanted to draw it in there to show you what's going on. The whole total expenditure line shift up. Okay? So let's talk about the Keynesian solution. If you think back to chapter 1, I introduced John Maynard Keynes and Keynesian economics to you. And John Maynard Keynes, his premise was your economy is underperforming. You got some unemployment. And the reason you have some unemployment is because you don't have enough demand for goods and services. Increase demand for goods and services, and you'll solve your unemployment problem. So that's what he said. He says that you need more demand for goods and services in order to reach full employment. Who in the economy can demand more goods and services? So if we need more demand, who can we look for? Consumers, who else? Government and? Businesses, we're going to call those investors and net exporters. Let's keep it simple. The 4 sectors in the GDP equation. The net exporters, though, realistically, more seriously, they're called foreigners. Foreigners, not net exporters, but keeping with the notation. So on the next slide, let me know when I can move forward. As you guys are watching the screencast, the really cool thing is you can always hit pause.
Oh, right, I can do that too.
No, that's fine. Do it in class, because you're going to tell me you're going to watch the screencast, but then what happens when life happens and then you don't watch it? I want you to have a complete set of notes. Because I need to teach at your guys' pace. Listed. The Keynesian solution depends on additional demand coming from these people. Consumers, businesses, foreigners, and the government. Those are the people that we need to look for towards in order to have additional demand. So you and I all agree that there is a $400 gap to fill in our economy, correct? Now I need to show you how to calculate that formally. We are going to call that gap change in Y. Change in Y represents by how much do you need your economy to grow by. Change in Y is always going to be equal to full employment minus your economy's current equilibrium. And guess what? Change in Y is equal to full employment. Didn't question 19 tell us that full employment is Y equals 1,400? It says so. So that will always be 1,400. And your current equilibrium will always be your answer to question 16. Answer to number 16. So change in Y here is equal to 1,400, and the answer to question 16 was 1,000. Therefore, change in Y equals 400. This represents the gap that must be filled in. If we get more people to work, we can increase income and expenditures, and our economy will reach full employment. Seem pretty straightforward? Ready to get to work? Okay. Can I continue? You guys copied all this down? Yes, Eric. So you're ready to get to work? Okay. Here's the first multiplier. It's the consumption multiplier. It's called the consumption multiplier. And it says that consumers can move the economy to full employment if they demand more goods and services. Now, when you are using the consumption multiplier, you are only asking consumers to spend more money. You are not bothering the other sectors. So here, consumers are shouldering the responsibility of the additional spending. Change in Y is equal to little k times change in C. Change in Y is the amount of the gap that you need to fill in on your economy. It's the amount of the area on the 45-degree line that you guys just drew arrows through. $400. What was little k? 2.5. So we really have 400 equals 2.5 times change in C. We divide both sides by change in C in order to get rid of that 2.5. And we got $160 is equal to a change in C. I also want to be super clear about how I'm going to be grading exam 5 because I don't want there to be any misinterpretation. I said question 19 is worth 25 points, and I will give you 4 points for the graph, showing me where your current equilibrium is, where full employment equilibrium is, arrows between both. That's 4 points. So that means that there is 21 points left. 7 multipliers. Guess how many points per multiplier? 21 divided by 7? 3. Now, here's the first multiplier. I want to share with you what I will be looking for. 1 point on each multiplier for accurately stating it. So that means you wrote it out. And you wrote it out correctly. 1 point on each multiplier for accurately calculating it. So that means your math is correct. That means you didn't make any errors anywhere. And 1 point on each multiplier for telling me in 1, maybe 2 sentences max what the answer means. What does that $160 mean? Let's get an answer up here that we can all agree to. $160.
They're like,
Go ahead, Jose.
more, the consumers need to spend $160 more to move the economy to full employment.
I think that sounds good. Let's keep it simple. So let me write this up here. Actually, let me type it because my handwriting's atrocious. If I can. If consumers spend an additional $160, comma, the economy will reach full employment. Period. Is that what you said? Is that what you said, Jose?
Yes.
Check mark.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
Is that like per consumer?
No, that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about. This is total. This means amongst all consumers. So then you're thinking $160, well, that's kind of ridiculous. But the reason our number is so small is because our income level on the very first column of our table are so microscopic. The reason we have a very small number here is because our top income earners in our economy earn $1,600. So that's why. But you would get out as many zeros to the end of this and the theory will hold. So does that make sense, Jose?
Yes.
It's not $160 per consumer, it's $160 amongst all consumers. All consumers together need to kick in $160 more total into the economy. Because check it out. Didn't we say that every dollar generates 2.5 times its value in the economy? So if we have $160 additional dollars spent times 2.5, what does that equal? $400. And that's the size of the gap that we want to fill. Does that make sense, Angela? Okay. What do you think, Byron? Good with it? What do you think, Jose? Are you good with this, or kind of? How about you?
Kind of.
Kind of. So where did I lose you? I don't want to continue because if I lost you, I'm going to create a snowball effect by the time I'm done. Where's your question, Jose?
Question I was already asked. The 160, it's everybody together?
Everybody together, not everyone, each person, no. And the reason it's so small is because our income levels are so small in our economy. Remember, we got income levels on the table, first column, that range from $0 all the way to $1,600. It's very small. That's why. Layla, did you have a question? You're stretching. Good. How are you doing with this, Eric? Got it? So there's your 3 points. On the exam, I strongly encourage you to do anything you can to make it overly obvious that I need to give you credit. I have someone who helps me grade these exams because I'll be up to my eyeballs and work here like in a week. Because I front load all of my work for the end of the semester. I'm going to work that weekend after this exam. Get it all done. If there's anything that you can do during the exam to make it overly obvious and I need to give you credit for your work, please do so. So if you can organize your answers on question 19, I strongly appreciate that. I have students who write consumption multiplier, and then they write it out, they do their math, they write out the answer, then give me an explanation, they're good to go. And then they do investment multiplier, and then they continue with the other ones. I have students, I've seen some exams, where like all the multipliers are scrunched up in one part of the exam. There's all kinds of math going on for the next page. And then explanations that I have no idea go with what. So anything you can do to make it overly obvious and I give you credit for it, I appreciate it. Okay? Because then I remember that exam, I handed it back to the student, I just put a big question mark. They didn't like their score. I'm like, if I can't, that's another thing. If I can't read your writing, I'm not going to try it. I'll tell you that right now.
So this is,
Make sure your writing is legible because I don't have time to figure it out. I'm going to have like 150, 200 of these to grade. Go ahead, Jose.
so this is one of the,
This is only, it's only one. So I wanted to make sure that we're all clear on how I'm going to be grading because that's the important part. Yes, Eric.
Do you want an explanation for
Every one of them. Yes.
Do you want that 160 times 2.5, like that whole backwards thing?
No, you don't have to do the whole backwards thing. What am I looking for? 1 point there, 1 point there, 1 point here. The whole backwards thing, I did it just to show you that we come up with the $400 that we're seeking. Are we good with this one? What do you think, Triana? Thumbs up? Okay, let's continue. Next, we can also use the investment multiplier to stimulate our economy. The investment multiplier says that investors can move the economy to full employment if they demand more goods and services. And again, this is what Kenneth was talking about in terms of businesses. If businesses demand more goods and services. Change in y is equal to little k times change in I. How much was change in y? What's my number there? 400. How much is little k? 2.5. What do you think the answer is? 160. Again, when you're using the investment multiplier, you're saying no one else is going to shoulder the responsibility of the additional spending. We're just going to rely on investors. Only investors, no one else.
So can we just change consumers to investors?
I think so. So Sarah asked me, so can she just change consumers to investors on the explanation, right? So tell me again, what did I type out? If
Investors invest an additional 160, the economy will reach 12.
sounds good to me. I'm typing it all out, and then I will put it up here so you guys can see it. Like that. So if this is your exam, Sarah, I'm looking through. I'll give you 1 point for stating the multiplier, 1 point for accurately calculating the multiplier, and then 1 point for telling me what your answer means. You must include the actual numerical value of your answer in the explanation. If not, I don't even know what you're saying. Not too bad, right? Again, with the investment multiplier, only investors are spending additional money. No one else is doing so. What do you think the next one is? Net exporters. Sounds good. Net export multiplier. Net export multiplier says that foreigners can move the economy to full employment if they demand more goods and services. Change in y is equal to little k times change in x little n. Are you guys starting to notice a pattern?
Yes.
Okay. The pattern is there on purpose to make the memorization easier for you. What do you think the answer is? 160. Why is the answer still the same?
Because,
Go ahead, Jose, because why?
well, because that's just the amount of money that needs to be put into the economy for.
The amount of money that needs to be put into the economy is not changing. The gap is not changing. The only thing that's changing is who's doing the spending, right? So if you guys understand the theory, then you understand why the numbers are the same. Sarah, let me type up another explanation here. So Sarah, what am I going to type? Please repeat that to me. If
Foreigners spend an additional $160,
Thank you. The economy will reach. Why make it much more technical than that, right? Again, I'm grading your exam. I'll give you 1 point for accurately stating the multiplier, 1 point for accurately calculating the multiplier, and 1 point for accurately explaining your answer. And I'm with Sarah's theory. Once you got your explanation down the first time and you got it down good, just modify it. What do you think the next multiplier is? Which one are we missing? Government. Is everyone good with this slide? May I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Government multiplier says the government can move the economy to full employment if they demand more goods and services. Yes, Christina.
I have a question. Does that mean that only one of them will be the one that moves the economy?
Only one sector. With these first four multipliers, what it means is that only one sector is moving the economy. Now, another question that we're going to get to is, are any of these multipliers better than another to use in real world? No. All of them will get the job done. However, you have to consider current economic conditions in your economy to justify which one you should use. Can we ask consumers to spend more money today? Maybe we're starting to be able to. Could we have asked consumers to spend more money in our economy 3 years ago? No. People are starting to make money off their houses now. That wasn't the case before. Houses in my neighborhood, I just saw one. I was thinking of buying it. The only problem was it sold for $340,000. People who bought it, they bought it for $225,000. They made a nice chunk of change. So people are starting to make money on their properties and mix it. And then the stock market's at all-time highs. People are feeling wealthy now. So that's what it comes down to, Christina. You look at the current economic conditions of everyone and then decide who's better poised to be spending more money. What do you think the answer is here? 60. So then, Sarah, my explanation here says, if government an additional $160, comma, the economy will reach full employment. Period. So again, I'm grading your exam. 1 point there, 1 point there, 1 point there. Not too bad. Do you think bless you, do you think any one of these 4 is actually used in the real world? Perhaps, but it's very unlikely. Because what are the chances one entire sector is going to say, hey, let us spend some more money? The next multiplier is a more realistic approach. Can I move forward? That's good. Combination multiplier. Combination multiplier says that together everyone can move the economy to full employment if they demand more goods and services. Change in y is equal to little k times, and then now in parentheses we're going to make a modification. We're going to include all of them, all the sectors in there, but we're going to put addition signs. Change in C plus change in I plus change in X to the line plus change in G. What do you think our answer is? The same. Because of what Jose said. The additional amount of money that needs to be spent is not changing. What's only changing is who's going to be spending. 160 is equal to change in C plus change in I plus change in X to the line plus change in G. Now I want to talk a little bit more about this. $160 is equal to change in C plus change in I plus change in X to the line plus change in G. Can't I have 160 equals 40 plus 40 plus 40 plus 40? Can I do that? Where each individual sector says, hey, we're going to spend 25% of the additional money. But can't I have other combinations as well? Actually, I can have any combination so long as the sum of the changes equals 160. So I can have 80 plus 80 plus 0 plus 0. I can have, I don't know, 20 and 20 and 120 or whatever the case may be. The only thing that is very important here is that the sum of the changes, everything in the parenthesis, equals 160. That's it. So what am I typing now for my explanation? How about if together, everyone in the economy spends an additional $160, comma, the economy will reach full employment, period. There we go. So on the exam, what am I looking for? I'm looking for the multiplier to be accurately stated up here. I'm looking for the multiplier to be accurately calculated, which means this whole thing here. And I'm looking for the multiplier to be, the answer to be accurately explained. There's your 3 points.
Now this multiplier is called what?
Combination multiplier. It says that together, if everyone in the economy spends the additional $160, the economy will reach full employment. Are we good with this one? Another multiplier that is politically popular to do. The first 5 aren't too popular. Let's ask people to spend more money. Let's assume that you get Barack Obama on TV says, hey America, spend more money. That's going to be unpopular. But what if he goes on TV and says, hey America, we are going to send all taxpayers a tax cut. Go out and spend the tax cut so you can stimulate the economy. What do you think about that one, Ken? Let's send you some money. Have the IRS cut you a check. Isn't that nice? What do you think, Dan? I'm all for that. If there's a check in my mailbox, go for it. Yeah, then he'll be my friend on Facebook, and I don't know what else I'll do. Yeah. What do you think, Christina? Send you some money? Who's going to be opposed to that one?
Spend it for you.
Sixth multiplier is the tax cut multiplier. And it says that taxpayers can move the economy to full employment if they are taxed less and demand more goods and services with their quote-unquote extra money. And this multiplier is kind of like the other ones, just has a little deviation from it. We're going to stick the MPC at the end because we need to account for spending of additional money. There's going to be money that we didn't account for, and all of a sudden it's going to hit your bank account. And I've seen this happen 3 times within the last 12 years in this country. And it always happens the summer before a presidential election. Always happens the summer before a presidential election. Why? Because whoever's in office in the White House wants people to remember who sent them a check by the time that November comes. You can't send the checks too early, because if you send the checks too early, Americans will forget. So they always do it the summer before. And so I'm going to have you write down all this math, and then I'll tell you about what happened last time that they sent it. Change in Y is what? 400? Little k is 2.5. Change in T is our unknown. MPC. That's still 3/5, right? We're going to stick 0.6 in there as a decimal. I don't like dealing with fractions. So what are we going to do? We're going to do the math. So first what I did is I divided both sides by 2.5 to get rid of that. I'm left with 160 is equal to change in T times 0.6. And then I will divide both sides by 0.6 to get rid of that. My answer, $266.67. And here's my equation. So someone help me, what's the explanation that goes with this? If taxpayers what? If taxpayers
Spend $266.67.
Well, we're giving
Our
back.
tax,
we're giving them back the money. So if taxpayers
our tax less.
are taxed $266.67 less, or another way you can say that, receive a $266.67 tax refund. So if taxpayers are taxed $266.67 less, comma, the economy will reach full employment, period. Is that correct? Oops. Hold on. How does that look, Leila? There we go. If taxpayers are taxed $266.67 less, the economy will reach full employment. Does that make sense, Ken? Or is it tax less and not spending?
Well, why is it if we're taxed less, but on the other side we pay, if like consumers pay in total $160 more,
Why are they, and that's where I was going to get to, because it's MPC thing. MPC thing says that the marginal propensity to consume, when you get a pay raise, when you get additional money, you're only going to spend 60% of it. You're going to save some of it. That's why. It's not an even one-for-one exchange, because some of it's going to go to your savings account. And there might be some variations amongst taxpayers, but as a whole, the taxpayer sector, that's what you could expect to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Last time that they did this, I want to say it was 2008. when Barack Obama was running for office first time around against John McCain. And we got a check in the mail. Actually, it didn't come in the mail. Check it out. Here's what happened. Like in April, government announced they're going to be issuing tax rebate checks because, yes, the economy needed to be stimulated. This was right before the last Great Recession. And so they sent us all a letter. The IRS or Department of Treasury, someone sent me a letter saying, hey, congratulations, you qualified for a tax rebate. We're going to be issuing tax rebates according to who filed taxes last year. And since you're going to get a rebate, it's going to go into your bank account that you specified on your IRS tax return. If you didn't specify a bank account, you're going to get it in the mail. So there was a letter that came in April. And then there was another letter that came like in June. Yes, you're definitely getting a tax refund. We're going to start issuing them this month. Here's a little table of information. We're going to be issuing them every week according to like the first 4 digits or last 4 digits of your social security number. And then there was another letter that came in August saying, did you receive it? If you didn't receive it, call us. The point of this is that we had 3 mass mailings going out nationally saying your money's coming, your money's coming. The government could have just like not even given us a tax rebate, just go out and spend money and achieve the same thing with the government multiplier, right? Isn't the government multiplier going to also fill in the gap? But by using the tax cut multiplier, it's very apparent and it's very transparent. Who could take credit for that? George W. in the White House, hoping to help his Republican candidate win the presidency in November. So politics gets involved. You could achieve the same thing with far less resources. Can you imagine how many federal workers we had to pay to get those letters out in the mail? How much postage? How much in printing expenditures? Why don't you just send the money and call it good? We got to remind people 3 times who sent them the money. Yes?
So how would a government multiplier work? Would that just be like building?
Government goes out and spends money. Government goes out, and I didn't have enough time to go into this today, Jose. Other times, government goes out and spends money, puts more lights on the strip in Las Vegas. More neon lights on the strip in Las Vegas will do it. Government goes out and invests in infrastructure. If you think back to the 2009 American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, the Obama stimulus plan, that was all the government multiplier. Government went out and spent money. You guys remember all the construction on the highways and all those signs that said that was government spending money? And I'm saying, why not just let the government spend money? Why are we wasting so much money on printing and notifying the public of what's going on? But by notifying taxpayers, there's a political advantage to maybe had. But before I get to the last multiplier, I wanted to share with you what Americans think about taxes. This came from the Gallup poll just like a couple weeks ago, because I found it right as of April 15th deadline. I took it off the day before. When Americans were asked if they believe their taxes they paid in 2013 were fair, here's what they said. 52% of people said that they were too high, 42% of people said that they were just right, and 3% said that they were too low. Down here, we got Warren Buffett. He's been writing political op-ed pieces to like the New York Times and Washington Post for years now. Warren Buffett, his whole opinion letters say, hey, why does my secretary pay a higher marginal tax rate than I do? True story. Many people believe they already pay too much tax, but yet our federal government's still underfunded. Federal government continues to run a deficit. They're spending way more money than they take in. What are we going to do about that? That's a problem for your generation and mine to solve. Federal debt has ballooned, exploded. We talked about that in class, didn't we, one day? Was that you, Jose? I got time. I don't know if I can do this on the iPad. Federal debt clock. Let's see what comes up. Oh, wonderful. Look at how much money we owe as a country. 17,526,000,000. No, 17 trillion. Sorry, 17,526,090,180,150.84. And then I can't refresh it. I can't refresh it on the.
55,000.
What it does say there is each citizen's share of the debt is $55,099. So that's like a really nice BMW 500 series in my driveway, in your driveway, in our kids' driveways.
We just saw this to foreign investors.
Anyone. I believe 10% of this debt is held by foreign Chinese investors. Anyone. Basically, what the government has done is issued pieces of paper that say, I owe you some money. You give me your money, I'll pay you back, and I'll pay you back with interest.
Does it owe citizens money?
Yes. Anyone who's invested and bought a U.S. savings bond. Yeah. Government bonds, that's how we've raised this cash. This is pretty scary. But now let's go back to that government multiplier. Let me finish this up, Jula. Let's go back to the government multiplier. When we asked the government to spend $160, we didn't care if they had it or not. We didn't know. What if the government doesn't have any money? Like in 2008, government was broke. We've been broke. So then they just go out and borrow it. With the government multiplier, you don't care whether or not the government has the money. John Maynard Keynes assumed government had money, but if you don't have, I guess you go put it on the credit card. Abdullah, what was your question?
Yeah, I was just want to ask if the government has any plans or if they have any plan other than agency.
Politicians don't have very many plans. That's a very blanket. That's a very general statement. What's a politician's main plan? Get reelected. What's an economic, the economy's main objective, or any economic policy main objective? It's a long-term thing. It's not get reelected. So economics is a long-term phenomenon. Politicians are a short-term phenomenon. When you mix them both, you never get the ideal outcome. This is why I say I come to school every day, so you guys can go out there and help me make this world a better place. Because if you guys now, some of the most economically literate people here, do not go out and institute this change, who's going to do it? And then what's the objective going to be? Sarah and then Layla. Does you have a question?
One of the recent news is that I know that about 12 or 13 high-rises in Manhattan, and very good ones that used to belong to the former Persian Shah, are now, the U.S. government has taken them as,
Collateral?
yeah.
That's something else that's going on.
So is that?
We have assets. I don't know if we have $17 trillion in assets. I'm going to guess no. That's tons of money. Layla, what are you going to tell me? I got one more multiplier to give you guys.
That was just something I remember mentioning in your other class where it was like, they were saying that if most politicians, if they were to take a college economics course and just take the final, most of them would fail.
Oh, yeah. Most of them wouldn't be able to even correctly calculate an opportunity cost. Chapter 1 stuff. I agree. Balanced budget multiplier is the last one that I'm going to ask you to memorize. Actually, this one you don't have to memorize because if you already memorized the first 6, it's just a combination of 2 former ones. The balanced budget multiplier says that government can move the economy to full employment while keeping a balanced budget. If it spends more money and also taxes more to finance the additional spending. So here we are forcing government to be fiscally responsible. What we have here is we have the government multiplier minus the tax cut multiplier. So you just put those two together and you add the word net in front of it to signify that they're working in tandem. And as you guys write this down, I want you to know that there is one huge problem with this. The huge problem is that we have 2 unknowns. This is an unknown, and that is an unknown. And this is an unknown. Actually, 3 unknowns. And I'm going to give you a shortcut. Last thing for the class today. Wherever you have a parenthesis, stick the same number in there, and the theory will follow. And that's all the time that I have for, even though I want to finish up in another 5 minutes. I also have some more practice sheets for you. I developed something that's called the green sheet. Take it with you if you want to practice over the weekend. Take lots of graphs. Take lots of everything. I'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful weekend. Yeah, your test is Wednesday.